one of the things that I hope to do, again, I have so many hopes and missions, is to encourage folks, 40 and above, to get out of their comfort zone and share their story. When I think about the big strokes, 40-year-olds and above, there's a couple of things that I believe. One, you have a story. You have been through some life, some of it good, some of it bad. Sometimes just by owning that, talking about it, can help others who are coming up behind you, right? It could be that, that biography, if you want it to be. Is build to rent the secret to wealth generation today? Did you know that build to rent is not, and I repeat, not only available to Wall Street and big money funds? You can execute build to rent one rental at a time. And we're going to talk to one young man who is doing that right now. It is, of course, the host of Build to Rent, Investing and Financial Talk. How you doing, Brandon?
I love it. You called me a young man because I think we're both about the same age. So I love that.
Yes. Well, I'm going to call you a young man. That makes me a young man.
That's right.
I win. Well, why don't you tell me about kind of the opening? Do you believe build to rent can be done one rental at a time? And then I want to share some numbers. Why don't you just open with, is it possible?
I do. I'm living that out. I have not built that many. It is really one rental at a time. And I'm slowly learning, and I'm learning through each one. So I think it is very possible on a smaller scale. And it prevents me, because I get impatient, it prevents me from making mistakes. So I have them. The banks, I'm usually doing one or two at a time, has been as much as I've been able to do. And I think that's healthy for me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So let's show you some numbers, folks. Again, we're talking about how you as an individual investor could copy or cheat off the homework of the big boys and execute build to rent. We will break down the process, financing, all of that in a minute. But I just want to give you a taste of what these numbers look like. So, Brandon, since 2020, when he started, his investment portfolio is now worth over $1.8 million at the end of 2024. He has put in exactly $144,000, and he gets cash flow of $39,000 a month. Those are lots of great numbers. Why don't you kind of break it down for us? Because again, $39,000 in cash flow is great. $144,000 capital output is awesome. Got a bunch of equity. That's great at $1.8 million. Why don't you break that down for us?
Yeah, so I started this and started the first two constructions in, I guess it was 2020, because those both were finished in 2021. And I share how scary that was. So I'm in the middle of construction. We were just framing the properties, the two properties, when COVID shut everything down. And I remember,
talk about a scary moment.
Oh man, I remember that weekend sitting there crunching numbers, penciling this out with my reserves of just what I had in cash. Are we going to make this? If this goes further, if this goes south, like we were all nervous because we just didn't know.
Yeah, we didn't know. Yeah.
Did I just do something that I couldn't have prevented, but I could go bankrupt in this? And now, hindsight, looking backwards, I wish I'd have had 10 of them. Because when you push through in those times, a lot of times I can look back and, man, I wish I would have done more. I didn't let fear overwhelm me. I pushed through.
Yeah.
So it's doing that, I was looking at properties, and how I've been able to do it is when I'm looking at properties, and I'll give some examples. One of them, I only have one short-term rental. I don't think I want more than that, but I want one, and it's barely break even. So that's all it is. But what I was looking to do was, when I looked at the properties, and I've got a video coming out on this. So I looked at the street. This is a resort community on the beaches in Port Aransas, Texas. I wanted to be the smallest house on the street because I know naturally it's being pulled up by the median.
Yep.
It's almost, I call it like a magnet. It's pulling it up. If I'm one of the smaller houses, the value of mine's getting pulled up by the median. And I looked on this street. So it's the first street The ones on the other side of the street faced the ocean.
Mm.
Mine was the other side. I couldn't afford those ones on that side, but they were all, everything around me, even on my side of the street, they were all about 3,500 square feet.
Mm.
I ended up being close to right at 2,400. Of course, the ones on the other side, these were the massive 5, 6, 7,000 square foot structures. And if you take that street being first row, and I guess I would second row, if you want to call it that, I was looking at it. I underwrote the subdivision in my mind. I looked at the owner of the development. He is a billionaire. And I said, he has the resources to build out all the amenities in this resort, because we've seen subdivisions fail. I was in banking years ago and I watched this, and it's the strength of the developer. His name is Red McCombs, is the owner of the developer out of Austin, a billionaire. And I knew he had the money to build out the resort pools. We had a golf course. At that time, the golf course was, the year before, had lost $1 million. He had the money to fund it.
Right.
And to get it to where it is today. And now it's profitable. And so I was looking at all those things and I said, okay, I want to be the smallest house on the street. Granted, that's about all I could afford anyway. But as I'm building it, it grew in value. By the time we closed the appraisal, we were 300,000 above my build cost. And to today, it's an additional 400,000 in value.
Wow.
Because I'm using comps, the sales and what's around it, and say, I want to be one of the smaller ones that'll pull up my values. You're more in a precarious position being one of the biggest. You're getting pulled down in value. Yeah. So I wanted to stay below that median significantly. And I do the same thing on my current single family builds. I look at the market and say, for the example, the recent builds, if the average in the area is around 340, I want to be 20% under median for my values. Granted, I'm building them for even less than that. It's pulling my values up because I'm using the data to say, where do I want to be? If I have a bailout, if I need a bailout,
right,
I've got an easy bailout.
Yeah, it's kind of the liquidation value. So again, let's kind of break this down for someone who's an individual person like you doing this build. I think build to rent, if done right, is a great strategy, kind of like one a year, right? There's nothing, you don't have to go nuts, right? I think going fast might feel good. It might feel exciting, but frankly leads to catastrophe in many cases.
Going the slow model, and yes, I want to go faster, but I've grown comfortable with the pace I'm on.
Yeah.
Is 1, 2 at a time. I don't make mistakes. I have also time to reflect and to adjust in the build. It's allowed me not to really maximize what I'm doing. Now I'm down to building the same floor plan. So I can pick it up a little bit. It's the same floor plan, the same build out. I know my numbers. It's allowed me to, if you want to say, if I were buying on the resale market, I'm buying every time because the appraisal has typically been 20 to 22% above my build cost. That's the value. I call it forced equity after construction value, ACV.
No, I like it. Yeah, I like it.
And so I'm buying them all with a discount, 20 to 22% off of retail. Yeah. And the numbers cash flow.
Yeah. I think there's so much wisdom in that. And again, it's similar in some markets like San Diego, Seattle, maybe eventually the Silicon Valley for ADUs, right? There are some markets where if you have the right lot, and we'll talk about lots in a minute, if you have the right lot with the right access, building an ADU is a layup, right? We talked to Thatch Nguyen, we talked to that ADU guy, and just a lot of people like San Diego, I think, is blowing up right now. If you can build in San Diego for like $350 or $400 a foot, which most people can do, even if they're not a GC, right? You can outsource this. So let's just say it's $400. But if you're getting $800 a square foot value, That is your forced equity that you were talking about. Let's say an ADU is 1,000 square feet for very simple math, and you have a spread of 400. That's an extra $400,000 in value you picked up by completing and getting occupancy of the ADU. This is a great strategy. Now, not all markets, like the market I'm in of Fresno, California, you actually probably are negative, right? It probably costs 180 to 220 to build in Fresno, and you're not getting the value today, right? So you got to know your market.
Every,
you don't want to. Yeah,
I agree. Everyone's a little different. I created a video on my channel kind of talking through those numbers and what, my upfront initial underwriting. I'm looking at what rents will be in that market.
Yep.
And so the example, I'm just going to use an example. Say the rents on a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in this area is around $2,200.
Okay.
I'm looking at, okay, can I build it all in for less than $220,000? I should be able to cash flow reasonably well from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And then I'm kind of reverse engineering it. I know my build cost for us in our area, it's around $125 to $130 on the all-in price.
Right.
My actual build part is around $111 a square foot. I'm looking at lots and I'm saying, okay, I want to have a lot around the $15,000 per door range. That's the metrics I use. And then the lot prep, I want to try to stay under 20,000 after we're prepping the lot to put in the foundation. And I had a confirmation on this the other day, and I even talked to my wife about it. I said, listen to what this guy said. It was Ken McElroy.
Yes.
He was talking about these identical metrics that he looks at per door, what his lot cost and prep work was, 15 to 20,000. And I thought, I did not know those numbers until he said these just the other day. Nice. I'm like, that is a confirmation that I'm thinking well. I'm not saying I'm thinking perfect, but I'm thinking well.
Yeah. Well, I think Ken McElroy is a wonderful multifamily investor. He's had some unfortunate single-family housing calls over the last couple of years, but he's staying in his lane now, and he's an amazing multifamily investor.
He is.
He should be followed, frankly. I love almost everything he and his wife put out. So shout out, Ken. I want to break this down a little bit for folks, because again, sometimes we use vocabulary and we know it so well, we assume everybody else does. So let's just talk about what a lot is. You're generally speaking buying what's called an infill lot, right? Where the electricity and plumbing is kind of available at the curb, or better, maybe it's run. I don't know. So let's talk about the lots that you look at first and the lots that you don't look at. So let's go there first.
Yeah. So when I'm looking at that lot, these are in a development. And what I found to find most of these pricing is it's an older development that just didn't sell out with old baked in pricing when they had developed it. They've put the utilities. So the one that I've looked at recently, this was all built in the 80s and early 90s. So it's old cost, and the pricing there, the utilities are there. I'm looking ideally for all the utilities to be there. If there isn't, and if we have to put in septic, I'm deducting that from the cost, because, I'm saying I want to stick to 20,000 or less, including if it were to have septic. I haven't bought one yet, but if the numbers work, I would consider it. The ones I've bought right now have water and sewer that you can put the meter on there, and you have all of that. So I'm factoring all those in.
So what it sounds like is, again, in Texas, there's been a lot of developments that maybe didn't complete or finish. There's a lot of, an infill lot means that you actually may have neighbors. You may have a house on the left and the right. There's just a vacant lot there. There may have been an unfortunate fire and the house has been scraped. There could be lots of reasons why you drive down the street and you're like, hey, where'd that lot come from? Those are things you're looking for, right?
Right. And I've done the same thing I've got a few multifamilies, 3 and 4 unit properties, doing the same metrics. I'm looking at that. I know my build price. And so I can quickly say, will these numbers work, knowing what rents are in the area. And I don't have any other way to describe it other than I reverse underwrite it and say, okay, does this get to the numbers where it cash flows and makes sense? And then the appraisal over and above my cost is the extra, the building up my net worth. It's that forced equity that adds an extra return to my investment.
Yeah. So now let's educate people on what lot prep might be. Now, again, if it doesn't have all the utilities there, adding septic would be an example of that. But let's just assume you've got all the utilities there. What might lot prep be? Is that flattening the lot or removing trees?
If there's a bunch of trees on it, or it just needs to be graded out. It needs to just shape the lot, because you're trying to shape the water flow and making sure it doesn't flow into the house.
Drainage.
Yeah, all the drainage. So you're shaping the lot, and what does it take to get that lot ready to now build the pad for the foundation? And I choose, I watch others, I choose to build my pad up a little bit versus down at the level with the lot, because there's more chance of the water flow going towards the foundation. So I spend a little bit on the pad work, building it up. Maybe it's up to a foot and a half. We build it up just a little bit. I'd rather have that initial cost because I want to keep them long term.
Yeah.
I'm trying to build this right, not build it cheap, build it right.
Yeah. So let's just also talk about kind of the money involved in this. So again, if somebody's looking at build for rent as the way to financial freedom, typically, as I understand the process, you are going to buy the lot cash, right?
Yes.
We're talking 10, 12, 15 grand, whatever that might be. Then you go and you get, I think you have to go and get plans or whatnot. Then you can go to a bank and you actually use the land as collateral. Do I understand that kind of?
Yes,
roughly?
that would be it. So the initial purchase, I'm paying cash for the lot. I've got the plan. I've got the bid on here's what it's going to cost to build it. Working with a couple of lenders, I always make them compete against each other on the terms.
Nice.
And so then they've agreed to loan against it on the appraisal value. So then we get the appraisal done. Example, these recent two that I'm finishing up, they appraised at $272,000. So we give real numbers. It appraised at 272. I know I can build it for around 215. And when I say 215, that's all in. I include the closing on the 30-year fixed. I include all those costs and say it's going to be right around 215 to get to the other side. I've got my renter and I've got my 30-year, and that's what it cost me for this property. And then I've chosen to put a little bit in. My previous one, I only put $8,000 in. But as I'm looking at things going forward, I'm going to trade a little bit of that equity for a little more cash flow.
Smart.
My cash on cash return is lower, but I start out at a higher cash flow number from the beginning. But we're only talking putting in, normal resale purchase, you're putting in 25%.
Right.
Well, because of how I'm doing it, at worst case, I only have to put 5% down because it appraised that extra 20%. I'm choosing to put about 11, 12%. I have a number for these two, 25 grand. It comes out to 11 or 12%, but my cash on cash return is still 12%.
Yeah, it's amazing. So let's again break down the numbers for the folks that didn't pull all that together. So again, you're going to a bank. We're going to use round numbers. They're going to say the property is worth 300. You can complete it for 200. Again, very simple math. Typically speaking, on a construction loan, there's these things called draws. What does a typical bank lend on the after repair or after build? Is it 25% or?
Usually they're at 80% of my appraisal. Some banks only do 80% of actual construction cost. Okay. So I've found banks that will compete for the business, and I've gotten them to do the 80% of appraised, which is typically exactly what it's going to cost me to build.
Right. Yeah, that makes total sense to me. So again, folks, just to kind of tie these numbers out, in theory, you're going to build it for 200. The bank values it at 300. They're going to give you what's called a construction loan of up to 240. That will then come in draws. They'll have phases where they will take pictures and inspections and code and blah, blah, blah. Right. You'll spend, you'll get it back. You'll spend, you'll get it back. And then typically speaking, if you don't know, construction loans are variable during the term, but then they can flip to permanent once complete and occupancy is given. Do I understand all of that?
Yes, that's correct.
Awesome. Awesome. So again, I think this is a wonderful strategy. You have taken off and put up a YouTube channel where you are documenting this journey. If you are interested in build to rent, you've got to follow it. What is the title?
It's Build the Number 2 Rent, all one word, investing in financial talk. So I mix in both. I come from a finance background. I actually even had a stockbroker's license 20 something years ago. And so I've stayed in the finance world, from investing to commercial banking. I was the one underwriting loans for investors, to getting into real estate. Now I even have a property management company.
Wow.
And I do investing. I kind of take that principle of what Warren Buffett, he stayed where these industry and these businesses stack upon each other. And I can use all of my learning over the years to get to where I'm at today.
Yeah. And again, it's not the, the turtle and the, hare race. It's just slow and steady. I know it doesn't look good on Instagram, at least in the moment. But this is the way to do it, especially if you follow one rental at a time. You're a W-2 employee, you're working 40, 60, 80 hours. If you understand it and your market works, because I don't think it works in all markets. Like, I'm not sure it works in Fresno, just given the price and the value, but it works in a lot of markets. Build to rent could be a great strategy to pick up, and go to the channel, Build to Rent, Investing in Financial Talk. Let's talk about why you started the channel, because I think there's a lot of folks that should start a channel. It does not have to be about real estate.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be. But if you come at it from a mission of giving and value, not chasing money, right? Not chasing virality, but you're chasing impact. You think about your kids, you think about the future. There's so many reasons why you should do this, and I think others should start. But talk about your mission.
Yeah, the initial time this was brought to me was at your ORaaT event I guess it is still this year.
Yeah, still this year.
And I said no. For myself, mentally, I said, no, I don't want to do this. And then actually you had encouraged me on a previous interview to do this. And I thought through it. At my age, I just turned 53. I'm starting to see much more in the rearview mirror and more in the windshields getting close. I want to make an impact.
Yeah.
And it becomes somewhat of a biography if I'm sharing and being honest. And I've got one that I've got on the list to do, where I'm going to show I made a few little mistakes on a build. But that's how I think we learn. You encourage me, and I'm doing exactly that, good or bad. I'm not editing them. I'm being real. I'm letting myself grow through the video process of learning how to do it and get better and more comfortable. But sharing real what's going on, my background, what I've learned. I talk about finance stuff that I've learned over the years, but I want to make an impact, especially my kids are this Gen Z generation. And I was sharing the other day, I had a bunch of seniors in high school come over to the house, and I'm talking to them of how to house hack and how to get their first house. We played the game cash flow, watching them learn. And I'm then teaching after that. I did this in a school just on Monday and Tuesday. And this is what actually brings me more meaning and value to life than any money. I'm not doing this. I doubt if I ever go where I'm making anything off of this, it's by accident. It wasn't by intent. I'm doing this to make an impact and to share what I'm learning, because I learned from you and Dion and all this millennium, all these guys that are being real. I think is where you learn the most.
Yeah.
with real numbers and where, hey, I made a mistake on this, or I'm willing to say, hey, I messed up. I made a mistake. Here's what I would do differently. That's where we get the most learning.
No, one of the things that I hope to do, again, I have so many hopes and missions, is to encourage folks, 40 and above to get out of their comfort zone and share their story. When I think about the big strokes, 40-year-olds and above, there's a couple of things that I believe. One, you have a story. You have been through some life, some of it good, some of it bad. Sometimes just by owning that, talking about it, can help others who are coming up behind you, right? It could be that, that biography, if you want it to be. Second, the other thing, if you want to just talk about your hobby, right? If you're over 40, there is likely something you have loved for decades. So think about just sharing what you love in the world, and you will eventually find your tribe of others who love that thing. And if you truly love it, you could talk about it for hours. And then the last one I could tell you is, hey, if you're over 40 and you're going on a brand new mission, like you want to build wealth, you want to lose weight, you want to, whatever, document the journey, right? There's so many things you could do with this. And again, if you come at it from impact, the money will follow, right? I've documented two truths that I think people need to realize. One, I was not monetized on YouTube for 1,000 videos. Think about that.
Wow.
1,000 videos before I was monetized. And frankly, I didn't even know you could be monetized. So stupid me. But 1,000, right? Many of you give up after 10. I did 1,000. Second, in the first year of this brand, One Rental at a Time, I made a whopping $1,800, right? That's YouTube made zero. Books, I made $1,800. I sold I self-published a book on Amazon in like October or November, and I made like $1,800. But since then, since that first year of making nothing, I now have a YouTube channel that's got like 18 million views. I have a podcast with nearly 10 million views. I have a best-selling book on Amazon. I've helped thousands of people via courses. I've done live events and referrals. I now have made over $1.2 million by accident. No employees, no marketing, just show up and give every single day. I think every 40-year-old out there could do it, but you got to have the mission, the passion to give, and then the money will show up. Too many people chase money up front. Not enough people chase impact. So that's my story. And I just want to encourage others to get after it. It's worth it. It will come back.
It is. I've learned even just lots of things. I've gotten calls and I've talked to people and helping them and trying to answer questions as best I can on what I'm doing and how it might translate in other parts of the country. There's a challenge in that because I don't know that market, but I'm trying to give my best advice and, making that impact for others. It's been enjoyable. It gives something inside of you that money can't necessarily do. It's bringing value, and I've enjoyed that. And I don't know what else to say, but it's been a very good thing. I'm so glad I chose to do this. I've learned so much, even just doing it. I think I'm only at 22 videos or whatever it is. I'm learning and I'm seeing my progress, but I'm seeing what it's doing. Even when I'm talking to these Gen Zers, hey, I've got a channel. It's not big yet and may not ever be, but hey, if you like what I'm talking about, go check out this channel. Mm-hmm. And I've had these seniors, I'm getting texts from my daughter's class. Hey, can I come over to your house again? Can we talk about this again? That is impactful. If I can help some of them get on that property ladder faster.
Yeah. You know what I would recommend, if they're comfortable with, is I would record one of those sessions. I would, and maybe Zoom is better versus in person because it's obviously easier to record on Zoom. But I would do a call with 5, 6, 7 high school seniors and just let them go to town asking you questions. You know how valuable that would be for other high school seniors?
That is a good idea.
One of the things that I did over the summers, we had some family friends come in, and I think she was 13 and he was 15. I tried to record as much content with them as I could. I remember I did one video where I asked them 10 vocabulary questions. I did another video where we talked about, what do they want to do in the future? I think just asking Gen Z questions and sitting back and listening is A, enlightening, but also B, it gives you and I more content ideas. So I think I would do that. The other thing that I really want to highlight, and thank you for being a part of it, is the school community. That is one rental at a time. I think in very short order, the school community would be something I am known for most, right? That goes above a YouTube channel at 65,000, above a podcast with 10 million, above a best-selling book. I really think a school community who has go-givers, people are all going the same direction. It's active. We do weekly interactive live streams. We bring on guests. We have free education at different levels. I really think that school community, because again, it's got guys like you who are in it and giving. And I'm not paying you. I don't pay anybody. But it's just because we can attract the people that want to go the same direction. And then you're like, I want to be in this because it helps me and all of that. So I think the one rental at a time school community is frankly amazing.
It's enjoyable. I look at things that I post because I really want to add value. I'm not interested just in getting likes and comments. I'm thinking, not every time, but I'm thinking, hey, can I post something that helps somebody else that's earlier in the journey than I am? Because it is hard to think back what you didn't know. So you're trying to think back on there and provide something that maybe I can get them further along quicker than I did. And I'm trying to really provide value. And I know there's others on the school community doing the same thing. For sure. We're trying to provide value of what we know, but then we're learning from others. And they're passionate about it. It's enjoyable sharing when they're passionate about it themselves. Yeah. It makes it so enjoyable.
Yeah. I love the fact that we have been able to grow, like kind of to your point of growing slowly, right? I don't have a marketing team. I don't have head count. I'm not interested in being the fastest or the biggest. I just want to have a community that gets a little bit better every single day, brings in more people. And, hey, if it's not right for you, cancel. No harm, no skin off my nose, right? It's $20 a month. It's not going to move the needle on my side. But the reason I chose $20 a month is it's just enough to keep away the trolls. So you're a go-giver, and, it's just a place to be. I guess the last thing I want to talk about, you mentioned it a little bit earlier, the Vegas event, which occurred last February, occurring next February. Are we going to get you out to this next one, February 15th and 16th?
Absolutely. Tickets are already bought. This time, my wife was with me last time. This is our anniversary date is February 14th.
Oh, good for you.
So we combined it all together. This one, I think she will come probably, I know, for the first day. I just know her. I'm bringing some other investor friends of ours. Their spouses are coming too. So we're looking forward to it. I think it's going to be even better in that I've gotten to know the community better. It'll be even better.
You're going to be kind of a celebrity, I think. You're going to get a lot of people asking for pictures and stuff.
I think what I brought to the community, there's not many that are doing the build to rent in this group just yet.
No.
And I have enough experience that I feel like I can provide value and want to share that side of the plan on the one rental at a time type of model that we don't have. And so I feel like I'm feeling something there within the community and trying to do my best to provide it in a good way.
Yeah, I'm going to definitely find a time in the schedule to bring up, because I think there's probably 10 or 15 folks that are really building a channel which have unique mission. I'm going to make sure I find time to get you guys up front on stage to really share the mission, the channel, get a couple of questions, but really allow people to find you during the breaks, right? Because we're going to have 6 hours of networking and more. So I'll make sure I do that. In fact,
I've had several already reach out. I've got actually a couple of calls I've had.
Nice.
And I've got another one on Thursday from our community. They're asking these questions and I'm trying to help them. I'm trying to give, hey, if I can move them along and what I've learned, it's been enjoyable. And, I did post some stuff on personal financial statements.
Yeah.
It has really helped me change my behaviors. I've gotten the most out of it when I'm watching. The principle is what you focus on expands. And so I began really focusing on it 5 years ago, saying, here's where we are financially. What was that, 48, 47, somewhere in that range. And I'm like, I've got to get to retirement. I've got to start making strategy to get where passive income comes in. And so it began to change my behaviors. And even watching my wife, we handle money differently. We played cash flow, and I'm watching her. I'm the one buying all these investments, and she's the one paying down debts. And I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, that's one piece I'm not doing. I can grow revenue, but I need to do both. And so about 2 years ago, I said, I've got to really focusing on, I called it making a smaller footprint of expenses. Yeah. And so I'm in this process now, getting towards retirement, having my expenses go down. Now, granted, I have 3 teenage kids, so you know the cost of that.
Oh, I do. Yes.
And mine are in a unfortunately, fortunately and unfortunately, they're in a private school, so I'm paying for that. I made that decision. Yeah. A lot of expenses will go down, but I'm also hitting other ones so that by the time I'm retired, I think I can be there in about 4 to 5 years. I need 4 more lots. Nice. 4 more and I'm done. Then I'll have all my lots ready to build. I'm comfortable saying 20 is the number. Nice. When I get to 20, I'm finished.
I love that. This is the way. Stop thinking 100. Stop thinking 1,000. It's 5. It's 10. It's 15. It's 20.
And I'm saying 20 doors. It doesn't have to be 20 lots.
Yeah, doors. This is the way, folks. Don't overcomplicate it. Dion's lazy landlord strategy is amazing, right? Build to that. If you choose to 1031 and do all that extra leverage, so be it. But let's start with a goal that gets you there. Understand your monthly nut. Understand how many doors it takes to get there. And for most people, it's not 100. It's 15. It's 18. It's 20. So I love that.
So that's the plan. I'm looking forward to being there February. Everything's booked and we're ready to go. And I'm bringing friends with us to hopefully they get inspired. They have 1 duplex. I'm hoping they get inspired to do more because I think it's right for their family. Yeah. I really believe in giving back.
Yeah, when I think about who should be there, because again, I think about it all the time. I really see kind of 4 different categories. There's first, it's the folks that are interested but haven't done it yet, right? They have 0. They're kind of stuck in the, maybe it's analysis paralysis, maybe they're scared, they're nervous, they don't think it's possible. I think all of those people need to get there because you're going to be in a room with hundreds of others who have done it, right? That's the one thing I learned from last time when I asked people right at the beginning how many people own at least one. It was like 80% of the room, maybe 75%. So I think you need to get in rooms like that. Couples. I'm so glad to hear your wife's coming. One of the things I have a specific focus on there this year is couples, because I think it is so important to be on the same page and rowing the same direction. So we're going to have couples lead off day 1, day 2. I think a lot of people are stuck in the suck, which I call the first 5 years. Get in the room with other people in the suck so you can commiserate and share. You can be around people who got past it, right? And see the end of the tunnel. And then there are the bigger guys like you who can see retirement in 4 or 5 years, who just want to be there, share, maybe pick up a thing or two. All of those people need to get their butt there because there's nothing like being in real life, 6 hours of networking. You get to line up and ask people questions. This is not a, PowerPoint sell back of the room nonsense. There will be 0 of that. This is all giving back to the community. So I think all those people need to be there.
I think you learn differently. We learn one way with videos, but we learn one way, if you want to call it belly to belly, eye to eye, physical presence, you learn differently and it becomes even more real. Yeah. So I would highly recommend those that are on the fence. This is worth it. I've been to multiple video places of conventions and stuff. This one is worth it. And would recommend everybody being able, you can sit down with people you've seen on different channels and just have more time to ask deeper questions. eye to
Yeah.
eye.
Yeah. I mean, how many times do you go to events where you get a presentation and you can't ask the guy a question, and then, oh, by the way, they take off and you don't see him again?
Everyone's there. They stay there. I love that piece to it. It's a tighter family community environment with all of us saying, man, we're all trying to make it on this journey, and it's enjoyable.
Yeah, it's we're building something special here. It's growing day by day. We're getting more and more guys like yourself who are chipping in with their unique gifts, like Build to Rent. Thank you for doing all that you do. Talk about your YouTube channel one more time, and we will see you in Vegas.
Yeah, it's the Build to Rent, number 2, Build to Rent, investing in financial talk. Grow with me as you're growing, see my videos grow, and trying to share real talk of the model of Build to Rent. I'm doing these current builds as we're finishing up. I'm filming these, but then I'm bringing in some other stuff on financial talk that I've learned over the years, and just sharing life together.
Love it. Love it. Keep doing what you're doing, man. You are on a mission. You have the right heart. You're doing it the right way. I think you'd be shocked at where you are in a year. I look forward to it. Thanks, buddy.
Bye.